Stream Elements said Abstics is now live. Streaming Fortnite Live Customs with viewers. Shop use code, Abstics. Shadow_1764 said hi. Abstics said search Abstics to play the map Mystic Gunfight if you wanna play with me or join our game. Our game is public and we're on the Middle East server. So you can solo queue to join our game. Ikshukanar1234 said hi. Abstics said what's up. Abstics asks what do you guys wanna play? Shadow_1764 said BR. Botrix said Botrix has correctly joined the channel. Play with me said hi. Michelle Bowen asks can I play too? The Slump Fam said hi Abstics, today is my birthday and I do not have the battle pass, can you gift to me please? Abstics said alright, I can accept 2 of you for the first game. Scythup said eyes emoji. Scythup said WSG. Shadow_1764 said happy B-day bro. Play with me said can I play? Michelle Bowen said can another streamer play? Abstics said happy birthday. Sorry I can't gift RN. The Slump Fam said okay. Scythup said happy birthday fam. Abstics said I'll make giveaways on my maps after I receive a credit card. The Slump Fam said thank you Scythup, can you send me the battle pass? Abstics asks who else wanna join us for the first game? Michelle Bowen said okay, that sounds good, I liked and sub. Andresito02983 just followed. Andresito02983 said hello. Abstics said welcome. Abstics said what's up. Andresito02983 said can I play? Abstics said yes. Scythup said I don't have 1k V-Bucks and battle pass either. Andresito02983 said all. Abstics said we'll get one from Twitch. Andresito02983 said this my user. Andresito02983 said ayo_an99. Scythup said why does Erskine look like Chica? Andresato02983 said all. Scythup said who's exited for supercharged XP in August 15th fire emoji. Abstics said everyone. Scythup said Abstics make the XP in Mystic work cause the supercharge. Abstics said thanks for the gift. Michelle Bowen said you're welcome. Scythup said W Michelle for the gift. Abstics said do not request without my permission. Abstics said I'll remove you forever. Crystal T said yo, let me join. Crystal T said okay. Scythup asks does away mode disable invites? Mandalorian said can I join? Abstics said no way to do that. Crystal T said Ayo. Abstics said yes next game. Michelle Bowen said let's get a win. But yeah, we will pause, we have a streamer in our chat. Is you the best streamer? Mandalorian said okay. Crystal T said okay. Crystal T said Scythup said can't people just spam Fortnite Twitter like, ads do not disturb. Crystal T said stop inviting them. Mandalorian said okay please. 133 RD said I'm back. Nightbot said tip Abstics here. Cypher said Crystal is timed out for swearing. Don't swear. Guess Chicken said Guest Chicken said tongue in tongue. Guest Chicken said tongue shut. Guest Chicken said Sager. Mandalorian said Abstics, what's the next custom matchmaking key? Scyfup said imagine dying to Butt's skull emoji. Abstics said stop. Abstics said chat will choose the game. Scyfup said was the hide and seek fight. Baby said your next sub $5 will be returned. Can you use code LFA1 on Fortnite item shop? Would really appreciate it. Less than 3. Sahara Baby said thanks a lot. Smile less than 3. Sci-Fi said Elgar. Michelle Bowen said, can we play Mythic Gun? You know, can we after this game? Cypher asks, why did Ayo back out? Cypher said, Abstics, you better make XP work. Mystic smiling face with horns emoji. CoinTube said hi. Scythup said, am I the only one who has bad aim on Hammerer? Scythup said WSP CoinTube. Bowen said I'm stuck. Michelle Bowen said I'm stuck, please help me. Scythup said Fortnite has to patch this skull emoji. Two said hi. Scythup said WSPs. Scythup said GG. Michelle Bowen said I'm bad. Abstics said no prob. Michelle Bowen said GG though. Scythup said I wish I can get on but I have to play on low volume. Abstics asks how many of you guys would like to play? Mandalorian said BR. Mandalorian said PLS. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite. You don't want this smoke, said me. Scythe said bro got the longest name. Abstics asks should we do customs then? Mandalorian said yes. Michelle Bowen asks maybe can we play Mythic Gunfight? One v one saw opt win Fortnite. You don't want this smoke, said Cano play. TR1XO said what custom? Abstics said we'll play Mystic Gunfight after some time. Mandalorian said okay. Michelle Bowen said KK. Michelle Bowen said okay. Abstics asks should we do Battle Royale solo? Mandalorian said custom matchmaking key. Mandalorian said duo. TR1XO said yes solo. TR1XO said a nice sub. TR1XO said what servers? Michelle Bowen asks can we play hide and seek? Michelle Bowen said Battle Royale. TR1XO said what region? Mandalorian said what is it? One v one saw opt win Fortnite. You don't want this smoke, said what is the region? Abstics said custom match, Battle Royale solo server Middle East code, B123. Michelle Bowen asks what is the code? TR1XO said I. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite. You don't want this smoke, said Ty. TR1XO said him in. TR1XO said I'm Aussie 6666. Michelle Bowen said I'm not. Michelle Bowen asks in the game, what is the code? Abstics said custom match, Battle Royale solo server Middle East code, B123. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite. You don't want this smoke, said can we start? CoinTube asks how was your day? Abstics said code, B123. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite. Michelle Bowen said, is that a yes, we can play hide and seek? "1v1 saw opt win Fortnite, you don't want this smoke," said yeah. Abstics said yes, hide and seek. Michelle Bowen said okay. Michelle Bowen asks, yay, can we do like 2 or 3 matches? Abstics said, you got the biggest name ever. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite, you don't want this smoke said, can we start? Cyphup said, dang it, I'm not making it. Abstics asks, yes. Is everyone in? 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite, you don't want this smoke said IDK. TR1XO just followed. Mandalorian said, I'm in. Mandalorian said, safe, you can do it. Zanitu said, okay bud, you are not Aurora. Abstics said, alright. Pick a POI. Michelle Bowen said, I'm in. "1v1 saw opt win Fortnite, you don't want this smoke said start PLS 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 PLS. Cyphup said, let's do Utopia City. Zanitu said, I'm not. Abstics said, everyone land OXRHQ. Zanitu said, what is the code? Cyphup said, Utopia City guys. Abstics said, you get 1 minute to hide. Mandalorian said okay. Mandalorian said okay. Michelle Bowen said, the biggest one in Battle Royale. "1v1 saw opt win Fortnite, you don't want this smoke said alright. Cyphup said no. TR1XO said, like and subscribe. Michelle Bowen said okay. Abstics said, 1 minute to hide. TR1XO said, is it hide and seek? Abstics said yes. Abstics said OXRHQ guys. Abstics said hurry up. TR1XO said, are we allowed to troll you like with booty bombs? Abstics said no. TR1XO said I. Abstics said, and don't move when I shoot you once. TR1XO said K. Scythup said, can you do one more hide and seek kill join this time? Abstics said yes. Abstics said, incoming now. Scythup said, Utopia City or OXR again. Nightbot said, tip Abstics here. Abstics said, one more chance. Abstics said, hurry up. Abstics said, I found 4. One v1 saw opt win Fortnite, you don't want this smoke, said Sang. Michelle Bowen said, GG, I tried. Sman Gaming said, yo. Scythup said, there is no way someone is wearing my locker right now. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite, you don't want this smoke, said Sane. Scythup said, bro, there is no way. Mandalorian said so you have to kill everyone. Abstics said what's up. Asn_core 143 just followed. Asn_core 143 said hi bro. Can you put my code in the item shop? I'll watch your live stream for a while. If you dare, PLS use code backhand index pointing right emojis. Abstics said yep. Smangamming said when the next one. Internal_error. Mandalorian said okay. 1v1 saw Octwin Fortnite you don't want this smoke said bro he at Utopia he's cheating. Smangamming said when is another. Abstics said just after this game. Mandalorian said I was so close to dying. Smangamming said okay. Scythup said wait someone believed me skull emoji. Scythup asks if he's at Utopia. TR1XO said 1v1 me Aussie 6666. TR1XO said sorry I'm not hacking how. Michelle Bowen said this is fun, right? X2_K2 said see can we do reload 0 mil customs please? Mandalorian said Abstics it's the storm what to do. Abstics said yes sure. "1v1 saw Octwin Fortnite you don't want this smoke said he said land at Oxford HQ. Smangamming said nah bulls. X2_K2 said duos. Smangamming said yeah. Abstics said move to Foxy POI. Smangamming said duos relay odd. Michelle Bowen said how about next time let's go into the middle. Let's try to find a spot as close into the middle where we don't go in storm right. Mandalorian said okay. Abstics said yes tasked why I chose a mid POI. Abstics said we'll play one more hide and seek next game then ZB reload. Smangamming said can it need duos? Michelle Bowen said okay. Scythup asks who is that wearing my locker at? Michelle Bowen said so next time we're gonna go into reload okay can we change it to reload ranked hide and seek? Asn_143 said bro appreciate it and as you can see I already follow you here on Twitch, lol, remember backhand index pointing right emojis. one saw Octo in Fortnite. You don't want this smoke, said. How about whoever wins the real game? Get gifted or V-Bucks. Up said we can't do that 3. Mandalorian said Abstics, my friend wants to add you Zayed 11011. Mandalorian said Zayed 11011. TR1XO said, guys, Terry's this YouTuber called Bob TV. He has 78k subs. He got 103k V-Bucks. He if test bundles and blockers. Mandalorian said, my spot is so op. Gaming said, can we do reload builds duos? TR1XO said, I'm Foxy Floodgate. X2_K2 said, no please, 0 build customs please, folded hands emoji. TR1XO asks, wanna play a game to see if they are close like cold or burning, wanna play that game? X2_K2 said those. X2_K2 said reload. Michelle Bowen said 12,345,612. TR1XO said cold. TR1XO said cold. TR1XO said lil warm. TR1XO said warm. TR1XO said cold. Up said don't spam please. TR1XO said. TR1XO said sorry. Mandalorian said you were on top of me skull emoji. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite you don't want this smoke said for the last two people make them fight each other. TR1XO said sorry warm. Abstics said I can't find lol. TR1XO said you are so close next to me. Scyfup said that's taking long leave the game. Abstics said I'm so bad at hide and seek. Mandalorian said I'm left. TR1XO said GG. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite you don't want this smoke said one Mandalorian. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite you don't want this smoke said you one Mandalorian. Abstics said you won. Abstics said cut down. Mandalorian said yay. Abstics said alright next hide and seek. Abstics said seek. Scyfup said GG. One v one saw opt win Fortnite you don't want this smoke said what is it? TR1XO asks can we do Bob TV map? Mandalorian said duo Q. Scyfup said can I seek to I won't stream snipe he. TR1XO said a fashion show. Mandalorian said please. One v one saw opt win Fortnite you don't want this smoke said code. Michelle Bowen asks what is the code? Abstics said hide and seek. Battle Royale Solo Server Middle East Code, B234. Abstics said hide and seek, Battle Royale Solo Server Middle East Code, B234. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite you don't want this smoke said fashion. Abstics said next game reload 0 buoyed. Abstics said we'll do fashion shows after I get my new mic. Michelle Bowen said I'm in. Scyfup said can I seek I won't stream snipe. Abstics said I didn't receive it yet. Michelle Bowen said okay. Zmang Gaming said start. Zmang Gaming said start. Abstics said alright, safe will seek everyone for this game. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite you don't want this smoke said okay. Abstics said not me. X2_K2 said it's not working. Scyfup said Abstics has 3 lives. 1v1 saw opt win Fortnite you don't want this smoke said okay. Abstics said make sure your server is Middle East. Michelle Bowen said I'm ready. Zmang Gaming said start. Abstics asks everyone in. Zmang Gaming said ye. Saw opt said okay. Scythe said I will wear Ed Robin style. Abstics said don't spam start. There's more people on Twitch. Michelle Bowen said K. Scythe said the POI will be Utopia City. Abstics asks Twitch, are you all in? Michelle Bowen said yep, there is more people, by the way, there is 12 people in the game. It's gonna be 12 people. Tor Opt asks where are we landing? Tor Opt said okay. Abstics said everyone go to Utopia City and hide within a min. Unknown 5660 said do a fashion show. X2_K2 said IIT. Unknown 5660 said do a fashion show. Scythe said im exit head. Michelle Bowen asks can we win in the middle of the map or right next to the middle? Scythe said after this hide and seek. X2_K2 said it is not working, I did every. Tor Opt said yes. Unknown 5660 said please do a fashion show. X2_K2 said Evie. Abstics said we'll do fashion shows and other fun customs after I get my new mic. I didn't get my new mic yet. X2_K2 said everything. Abstics said they all queued in X2. Scythe said Abstics wear a skin most PPA don't have. Unknown 5660 said when you get your mic. Scythe said we're Psycho Bandit so it's you. Unknown 5660 said when will you get your mic? Abstics said hide and seek, Battle Royale solo server Middle East code, B234. Abstics said within a few days. Jonathan Vance said Giant. Tor Opt said can we start? Michelle Bowen said okay. Tor Opt said I'm winning this game and can we run or no? Scythe said Abstics have 3 lives, he can use shields. Michelle Bowen asks are you seeking again? Scythe said I will seek this time. Abstics said yeah. Scythe will seek everyone for this game. Abstics said not me. Michelle Bowen said K. Godale in Fortnite 908 said hi. Scythup said wait till I loot then I say hide. Abstics said hi. Abstics said we're doing hide and seek. Scythup said hide now. Godale in Fortnite 908 said oh okay. Abstics said suggest me a good hiding spot. Abstics said I never played hide and seek before. Scythup said now here I come. Opt said bro band FNCS_PXMPS. Scythup said brew. Leverkusen 190 said can I play with you? Scythup said 30 seconds hide again. Abstics said yes you're. Abstics said sure. Him hosting this customs. Abstics said for this game my mod, Seif is seeking everyone. TR1XO asks can we do fashion after this? TR1XO asks. Abstics said WTF. Abstics said who's this kid? TR1XO said I think he fired. TR1XO said me. TR1XO said he griefer. Abstics said this kid ruined everything. Abstics said everyone kill this kid. Michelle Bowen said kick that kid. Michelle Bowen said K. TR1XO said is this kid the moderator who asked to be seeker? Abstics said no. Abstics said my mod is C. TR1XO said oh okay. Nightbot said tip Abstics here. Nightbot said tip Abstics here. TR1XO said I'll be gonna do trash. Abstics said not today. Abstics said after getting the new mic. Michelle Bowen said spectate me, I might win this. Abstics said only 2 of them are at Utopia. Abstics said others outside. Abstics said we're playing hide and seek. Abstics said don't shoot. Michelle Bone said he almost got me lucky. Michelle Bowen said yeah, never mind I died. Abstics said GG. Up said spec other PPX has greyfers. Michelle Bowen said should have stayed in my spot or I could have won. Abstics said these are the griefers. Text should be 9Z9 said cheap viewers on stream.com, remove the space at TXX1 nick. Abstics said LOL. Michelle Bowen said after can we do reload hide and seek. Abstics said no more hide and seek. Abstics said because of so many griefers. Michelle Bowen said okay waiter. Abstics said we'll do again after I get the mic in private. Michelle Bowen asks can we play waiter? Abstics said I've never played that. Michelle Bowen said K. Colinth Goat said yo can I play? Colinth Goat asks. Colinth Goat just followed. Abstics said yes after this game. Colinth Goat said all. Marley Hewitt said can I have V-Bucks? Colinth Goat asks what custom are we doing next? Marley Hewitt said please can I have V-Bucks? Abstics said chat will choose. Colinth Goat said okay. Abstics said I can't make giveaways right now. Marley Hewitt said piss. Marley Hewitt said when can you give me V-Bucks? Colinth Goat asks will the code be the same? Abstics said you're not allowed to beg to me. Cypher, said L. Abstics said same code doesn't work. Colinth Goat said oh okay. Colinth Goat said makes sense. Marley Hewitt said can you ask me and give me a skin? Cyphup said dude obviously you're not a fan of random kid begging. Colinth Goat said lol like stop begging. Colinth Goat said it's not like you are going to get anything. Cyphup said no way the real winner is Befit. Marley Hewitt said add me out to your game my username Marley7820. Cyphup said Marley if you beg one more. Marley Hewitt said or what? Zmang Gaming said lol I won. Abstics said no. Caleb said yo WSP. Thcolinthcoat asks why no. Scythup said get a life kid. Abstics asks why did you kill everyone? Scythup said muted his skull emoji. Abstics said you ruined hide and seek. Michelle Bowen said I'm back. Caleb said bro it's hide and seek it's garbage. Abstics said no to that griefer. Thcolinthgoat said oh. Thcolinthgoat said I thought you were talking to me lol. Scythup said never coming back to this channel again. Abstics asks chat, what do we play next? Marvin McNutt said sup. Scythup said fashion. Thcolinthgoat asks fashion show. Marvin McNutt said I farted. Abstics said no. Not doing those games now. Michelle Bowen said mythic gun. Abstics said because I need a mic for those games. Caleb said please don't actually do a fashion show. Marvin McNutt said WM. Football fan 0821 said can I play? Marvin McNutt said ha ha. Abstics said yes. Marvin McNutt said good vibes. Abstics said we're playing reload builds. Marvin McNutt said no. Football fan 0821 said okay. Marvin McNutt said does. Football fan 0821 said do you want me to put my user? Michelle Bowen asks what is the code? Abstics said reload solos code, R123 server Middle East. Abstics said reload solos code, R123 server Middle East. Michelle Bowen asks, can we do duos? Thkolinthgoat said it is kicking me out. Thkolinthgoat said I'm in Middle East servers and I am using right code. Cyphup said it says unsupported. Abstics said BCZ I didn't start the match yet. Thkolinthgoat said oh. Abstics said the download isn't finished. Thkolinthgoat said lol. Thkolinthgoat said sorry. Michelle Bowen said it says unsupported. Cyphup said wait it's downloading. Abstics said BR Duos code, R123 server Middle East. Cyphup said wait for the download to finish then start. Abstics said BR Duos code, R123 server Middle East. Abstics said everyone queue in. Thkolinthgoat said I'm in, 3. Thkolinthgoat said thanks. Michelle Bowen said it's working. Abstics said hurry up. Cyphup said there is no way the grafers are gone being. Michelle Bowen asks what is your favorite soda? Marvin McNutt said I farted. Abstics asks what's your favorite soda? Goat said Cherry Coke is awesome. Michelle Bowen said Dr. Pepper. Scyfup said my favorite is Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Abstics said no. Abstics said no more. Abstics said free the peel and. Scyfup said huh. Said GG. Goat said no, I was lagging cause the Middle East servers. Internal _ error. Scyfup said I didn't have ammo. Goat said okay. Nightbot said to Abstics here. Phone said no, my teammate is so horrible. He made me die. Colinth Goat said G. Colinth Goat said GG. Scythup said GG. Abstics said it was so much fun. Colinth Goat said FRR. Sci-Fup said that felt like a real game toe. Abstics said BR Duo's code, A123 server Middle East. Michelle Bowen asks what is the code? Abstics said BR Duo's code, A123 server Middle East. Thcolinthgoat said the only thing I hate is the lag. Thcolinthgoat said lol. Thcolinthgoat said I'm from America so it is delayed a lot. ITZ Abstics asks how much ping did you have? Thcolinthgoat said I didn't check but prob around 100. Thcolinthgoat said stable. Abstics said got you. Sci-Fup said wait me and Abstics only have good ping. Abstics said we'll play NAR East as well. Abstics said Europe too. Thcolinthgoat said oh nice. Thcolinthgoat said that is my server. Abstics asks EU/NAR East. Abstics said yes because Middle East is our server. Thcolinthgoat said NAR Est. Abstics said they all are either EU or NAR. Abstics said alright. Michelle Bowen said K. Sci-Fup said dang. Abstics said feel free to invite your friends to play together. Michelle Bowen asks can you start the map? Thcolinthgoat said I hope I get on your team. Michelle Bowen said yeah, if you're ready, say me. Abstics asks everyone in? Michelle Bowen said me. Abstics said I'm enjoying this season a lot. Thcolinthgoat said me too. Abstics said the movement is kinda like Apex Legends. Abstics said I love the movement so much. Sci-Fup said I am solo watched. Sci-Fup said brew oh. Abstics said chat, remind me change this slide before next time. Ghost said wow, I'm running 232. Ghost said not 100 lol. Michelle Bowen said nice aim. Archie said do duos again mister and my bestie want to play. Michelle Bowen said can we play one more hide and seek real world please, we never do reload please just one time and then we can do that around and then we can try to win this please we never play real world. Michelle Bowen said I meant reload. Nightboss said tip Abstics here. Michelle Bowen said, can we play reload one time? I know you do not have a mic, but still we never play hide and seek reload. Just please one time and then we can try to win the battle royale. Abstics asks, how was the shot? Scyfup said, there is no way I joined solo in a duo lobby. Abstics said, yes we can. Archie said, no duo. Archie said, duos. Archie said, duoed. Archie said, duos. Michelle Bowen asks, what is the code? Archie said, duos. Archie said, duos. Abstics said, hide and seek code, seek. Abstics said, hide and seek code, seek. Abstics said, next game BR duos. Archie said, server. Archie said, server. Abstics said, hurry up. Scyfup said, who's gonna seek Abstics or me? Archie said, server. Abstics said, me. Scyfup said, Middle East. Abstics said, Middle East. Guest Chicken said, yeah I like hide and seek. Michelle Bowen said, I'm in, I read up. Abstics said, pew pew pew. Guest Chicken said, what's the region? Michelle Bowen said, I read it up, I meant. Abstics said, Middle East. Scyfup said, who's gonna seek me or Abstics? Archie said, hi go seek. Guest Chicken said, beaming face with smiling eyes emoji. Archie said, Mr. Archie said, me. Michelle Bowen said, I ready up, I meant. Abstics said, hide and seek code, seek server Middle East BR solo. Archie said, me. Abstics said, I'll be seeking. Abstics said, you all will hide within a minute. Archie said, code. Abstics said, Utopia City. Scyfup said, what POI? Thcolin said, where do we hide? Archie said, COD. Scyfup said, bet. Abstics said, hide and seek code, seek server Middle East BR solo. Archie said, code. Abstics said, hide and seek code, seek server Middle East BR solo. Thcolinthgoat said give me a second PLS. Abstics said okay. Abstics said Utopia City. Thcolinthgoat said my game is loading up. Guest Chicken asks is that where we are landing? Michelle Bowen said K. Michelle Bowen said K. Abstics said stop spamming. Abstics said there's more people on Twitch. Guest Chicken said start up buddy. Archie said I ain't. Michelle Bowen said I will stop. Archie said omg. Michelle Bowen said I ain't. Abstics asks everyone in. Guest Chicken asks yes. Thcolinthgoat said yep /. Guest Chicken said yes. Archie said UAS. Abstics said next game BRDUOs. Michelle Bowen said you like the best streamer ever. Abstics said thank you. Thcolinthgoat asks Abstics any tips on yating viewers. Michelle Bowen said you're welcome best streamer ever on earth. Abstics said you just need to entertain them. Thcolinthgoat said ALR. Thcolinthgoat said oops cats. Abstics said hide and seek. Thcolinthgoat said can you move spots? Abstics said you must hide within a minute. Runlithygreet 198 said what server is Middle East, is it Near East? Abstics said yes but don't move when I shoot. Abstics said you can join the next game. Runlithygreet 198 said also I found Middle East. Abstics said thank you so much. Abstics said it's Middle East. Cyphup said, do I have 3 lives or no? Abstics said no. Abstics said alright, him coming no. Abstics said him coming everyone. Archie said I got griefed. Abstics said stop killing, it's hide and seek. Abstics said stop killing, it's hide and seek. Michelle Bowen said I didn't have any time. Archie said somebody at Foxy Flygate. Archie said Flodgate. Abstics said where's the kid? Archie said he back on Utopia with guns. It shook an R1234 said hi. Archie said Seif killed me by the way. Abstics said hi. It shook an R1234 said out of. Seif is briefing. Guest Chicken said, now where are we migrating? Storm coming in. Runlithigreet198 asks, what is next custom gonna be? Thkolinthgoat said, are we moving from the storm? Abstics said, yes, move. Abstics said, BR duos next. Thkolinthgoat asks, now? Thkolinthgoat said, okay. Abstics said, everyone move to Foxy. Sci-Fup said, bro, I am Robin Skin. Sci-Fup said, I'll invite Abstics RN. Sci-Fup said, dude, I am Robin, I promise. Abstics said, why? Guest Chicken said, I want you to see my car setup. PLS, don't kill me when I get S. Sci-Fup said, they say I graved. Abstics said, you didn't. It shook an R1234 said, bro, I wound of grief Archie to NGL. It shook an R1234 said, wood. Abstics said, 20 seconds to hit. Abstics said, hide fast. Abstics said, I'll kill you in 10 seconds. Colinth Goat said no. Guest Chicken said let's move to Canyon Crossing. Colinth Goat said dang it. Boxsprout said how to join. Michelle Bowen asks, is this fun? It shook an R1234 said yes. ITZ Abstics said check out the pinned chat. ITZ Abstics said you can join the next game. Abstics said alright, him coming now. Nightbot said tip Abstics here. Nightbot said tip Abstics here. Michelle Bowen said if this is fun, say yes. It shook an R1234 said yes. It shook an R1234 said view. Rinlithigreek 198 asks what now? Abstics said fight each other. Thkolinthgoat asks FFA. Abstics said next game the RU. Guest Chicken said I die to fall down. Abstics said stop teaming. Guest Chicken said are we landing somewhere particular or not? Said no next game regular the RDUOs. Guest Chicken said cause TBH we can play like Simon say. Thkolinthgoat said OHHH. Abstics said not today. Thkolinthgoat said good idea. Scyfup asks WTF? Scyfup said no way. Scyfup said teaming in 2025. Abstics said after I get my new mic. Thkolinthgoat said oh okay. Scyfup said I could have blown that crash pad. Abstics said BR Duos code, B123 server Middle East. Abstics said BR Duos code, B123 server Middle East. Rinlethegreet 198 said second to join. Abstics said everyone queue in. Abstics said we're fighting this game, not hide and seek. Thkolinthgoat said hopefully I get on your team. Abstics said don't stream snipe. Abstics said if you make me mad, I'll report you on Fortnite and get you banned. Cyphup said imagine teaming in 2025. Michelle Bowen asks what is the code? Thkolinthgoat said B123. Abstics said BR Duos code, B123 server Middle East. Guest Chicken said with. Runlethegreet 198 said I will go into a different tab because I'm watching from a website. Abstics said no space. Guest Chicken said wait. Guest Chicken said almost. Cyphup said if Abstics is my duo. Guest Chicken said I'll time in. Abstics said I'm enjoying this season a lot. What about you all? Guest Chicken said yays very much. Thkolinthgoat said I'm ready. Cyphup said this season is garbage. Ikshukanar 1234 said no. Thkolinthgoat said PLS startup I have to go soon. Abstics asks everyone in. Ikshukanar 1234 said it's good asf. Michelle Bowen said yep. Abstics asks why are you saying that see? Vortex_FV said no. Vortex_FV said R East next PLS. Abstics said join the next game if you couldn't join this game. Abstics said alright next game Nah East. Kolinthko said yo I'm in with Scythup. Scythup said, Swarm Strike, so many bugs attacking once, a lot of third party. It shook an R1234 said okay. Scythup said there is no way my duo just backed out. It shook an R1234 said what? Vortex_FP said I'll gift 10 subs if you kill 2 people this game. Abstics said alright. Vortex_FV said not your teammate, only you. Michelle Bowen said I'm done with this game. I'm leaving, so many people are cheap aiming me out of the sky. Abstics said okay. Vortex_FV said and no one giving kill. Abstics said sure. Guest Chicken said what is after this? Vortex_FV said East due guns. Vortex_FV just followed. Clutch Gabe said hi. The Answord said fucking as. Vortex_FV said ban that kid. It shook an R1234 said bro who said that? Scythup said no way. Vortex_FV said or time him out. It shook an R1234 said just like yesterday loudly crying face emoji. Abstics asks who wanna be a Twitch mod. Vortex_FV said sure. Vortex_FV said yes I'll be a mod. Vortex underscore FV said on game. Sci-Fup said 1v1 v2. Guest Chicken said Nan what kick? Nightbot said tip Abstics here. Guest Chicken said ban what kid? Sci-Fup said not fair. Sci-Fup said El Duo. Guest Chicken said what the hecky? Abstics said 10 gifted sub. Guest Chicken said how he. Sci-Fup said my duo back out. Abstics said I got it. Vortex underscore FV said took fair. Guest Chicken said I still would beat Abstics in 1v1 though. Vortex underscore FV said not fair. Abstics said Vortex, join my Discord. Abstics said, DSC. Nightbot said join the Discord community of Abstics. Vortex_FV said ICAP. Vortex_FV asks why? Abstics said you don't have to gift 10 subs. Michelle Bowen said hi, I'm back. Manlikeaboo00 said you gonna do customs. Abstics said just join. Abstics said yes. Vortex_FV said Kdun R East Duo. Abstics said alright. Abstics said alright. Abstics said I'ma take a 4 minutes break. Manlikeaboo00 said Middle East is crazy Ikeba with that. Michelle Bowen said K. Michelle Bowen said K. Michelle Bowen said K. Manlikeaboo00 said fuck you you silly prick sex. Abstics said BRB 4 minutes.